Okay, so you don't understand Far Cry, and you've clicked on this video to see what exactly it is that you don't understand about Far Cry. And I am here to explain to you exactly what it is that you don't understand about the Far Cry series. And for this video, we're going to be focusing on these games. Games that the community either love, hate, or are kind of impartial to, really, from my perspective. So we get a Far Cry game every couple of years. Sometimes the wait between installments to the franchise is quite short, other times it's quite long. In 2012, we got the release of what is probably my favourite game in the franchise, Far Cry 3. And then a year later, we got Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. A couple of years after that, we got Far Cry 4, and then the next year we got Far Cry Primal. And a couple of years after that, we got Far Cry 5, and then the next year Far Cry New Dawn. And I really hope it's not just me that's seeing a trend at this point. We get a numbered installment to the franchise, and then a year or so later, we get a more wacky game. One that doesn't necessarily fit in with the main series. Some of these games have fit in with the mainline series more than others. For example, Far Cry New Dawn was almost a direct continuation of Far Cry 5. And on the other hand, statistically speaking, Far Cry 4 happened round about exactly, if you work out the dates, a bajillion years after Far Cry Primal. So I think you know where I'm coming from when I say some are more connected than others. But anyway, why does this all matter? That's the big question that I want to answer in this video. Far Cry 3 came out to critical acclaim. It was one of the best games on the market at the time, and quite frankly still is. It's an exceptional experience. And a year later, we got Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, another game which people absolutely loved. Now, there weren't too many similarities between Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon other than the name. One took place on the Rook Islands and was a story about insanity, how one man can truly change based on what happens to him. Grounded in reality, obviously with some funny Far Cry elements in there, but overall quite a serious tone. A gripping villain that brought comedy to the series, but if you actually look at the events of Far Cry 3, it was quite a serious game. And the other being quite the opposite, with space dragons, robot arms, fucking 80s style neon shit, the explosions. It was amazing! And as amazing as it was again very dissimilar from its namesake Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, I don't think I need to explain that they are very different games. And then a couple of years after Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon's release, we received Far Cry 4. Again, another serious story, obviously with elements of humour in there because it is a Far Cry game, but overall, quite a serious game. And then a year or so after that, we received Far Cry Primal. Again, quite a step in a different direction for the franchise. And this is where what I want to bring up today really began to surface. People complained a lot about Far Cry Primal. People said it was a really weird step for the franchise to go in, people didn't like it because of that, people were concerned about the future of the franchise, and the biggest complaint people had was that the map was more or less the same as Far Cry 4's. Obviously, there was some differences because the games took place in two very distinct time eras, but if you overlay the maps on top of each other, they match up more or less perfectly. And of course, as with anything that comes out on the internet, when there are issues like that, people are very vocal about them, and don't necessarily tend to think why that might be the case. And then a couple of years after Far Cry Primal, we received Far Cry 5, many people's first time playing a Far Cry game. I know it was the best-selling Far Cry installment. I'm not sure if that statistic does still hold up, it probably does, but at the time, it definitely was. And one thing we can all agree on is that Far Cry 5 was one of the best-looking installments to the franchise. Hope County looked beautiful. It was also the first time we had a Far Cry game set in America, set in the United States, and I bring that up because I want to say, Ubisoft, if you somehow manage to watch this video, give us one in England, please. I will love you forever. We had Assassin's Creed Valhalla. No. I want modern. I want London. Put London. No, forget Watch Dogs Legion. London. Far Cry in London. Please, Ubisoft, please. Far Cry in London, please. Right, I'm sorry, I don't really know what came over me there. I guess it's a whole load of passion because I want a Far Cry game in London. But anyway, a year after Far Cry 5's release, we received Far Cry New Dawn. The game which pissed people off the most because there were the most people playing the game to piss off. Far Cry's significantly increased player base translated into a significantly increased mob. People found every excuse under the sun to complain about Far Cry New Dawn. They didn't like that this was our second game in a row to take place in Hope County. They also didn't like the fact that it took place after a nuclear apocalypse. They didn't like that Far Cry had tried to do a sort of RPG style game. People just didn't like anything, if I'm honest. There was some good stuff in the game, but people weren't really pointing it out, they were complaining. And with Far Cry 6 releasing October 7th of this year, we will likely see another game next year that is very different, very weird, and will have a lot of things that people will complain about. And this is why I want to say this now. I want to say this before anything might come out about a Far Cry game releasing next year. And what I want to say is, you don't understand Far Cry. And here is why. So with every main numbered installment to the franchise, a year or so later, we get a wacky spin-off. It is a spin-off. It is not the next step for the Far Cry franchise. It is not the next step for the series, from a gameplay perspective, from a story perspective, from any perspective. Far Cry has always been quite a wacky game, so we get the game, and a year later, we get a spin-off. This spin-off is where the developers don't hold back. They go full wacky. They go completely insane. They come out of nowhere with a really crazy trailer, hit us with a peekaboo motherfucker, and provide us with an absolutely insane experience, which people are no doubt going to complain about because not everyone understands that this is not where the series is headed. It is just a wacky spin-off. Now, the reason I've decided to make this video is because I know people personally who enjoy the Far Cry games, and when I've mentioned this to them, they say it makes sense and they've never really thought about it. There are definitely people online who haven't thought about this, and the types of videos they make definitely prove that. And another reason that I make this video is that if I can prevent even one person from leaving a hateful comment on Ubisoft's trailer for the next wacky Far Cry spin-off, I've done my job. And don't just take it from me. No. During the Far Cry 6 gameplay reveal livestream, we were hit with an additional 30-minute wait. And during that 30-minute wait, I was bouncing around some live streams, jumping into some chats, chatting to some other content creators, and I managed to get Dan Allen Gaming's opinion on the matter, a fantastic content creator from Australia, so this is now in fact a global opinion. I'm on one side of the world, he's on the other, and he seemed to have agreed with what I said.
Every Far Cry has a wacky spin-off. Far Cry 3 got Blood Dragon. Far Cry 4 got Primal. Far Cry 5 got New Dawn. You're actually right. I have never thought of that, Safi. That's hilarious. You're actually 100% right. You're no kidding. Yeah.
So there you have it. When I shared my idea with someone else, they actually ended up agreeing with it. So I must be on the right track, at least in some regard. Dan actually goes on to say,
well, going by that track record, we're going to get something, aren't we?
And yes, we are, Dan. We will get something. I'm putting my bet down on it now that we will see a crazy Far Cry game next year that people will unfortunately, for the most part, hate, but will be a lovely way for Ubisoft to truly explore their franchise and get to create something they want to, without it needing to be canonical, or tying in with the main franchise, or the deviation from the game's main mechanics. It can just be an opportunity for the game devs to make something that they want to make. And after all, creating a game is a form of art. And who are we to decide what an artist should create? So it's at this point that I congratulate you and I say the title of this video no longer applies to you. You now understand Far Cry. I want to give a huge thank you to Dan Allen Gaming for allowing me to use his clips in my video. He's a fantastic Australian content creator. I'm thoroughly enjoying listening to all of his interviews. They're absolutely incredible. He asks some really good questions. He takes questions from chat, so if you're ever in the chat when one's being streamed live, drop a question in there and you never know, it might just get asked. At the moment, I'm currently listening to all of his Resident Evil 8 interviews as I'm thoroughly enjoying Resident Evil 8. I'll be playing through Resident Evil 8 on the channel at some point. It'll probably be in a few weeks' time when we start Resident Evil 7, maybe even next week. But hang on, what did I just say? Don't worry about that, because more importantly, there's a link to Dan Allen Gaming's channel in the description of this video, so what are you doing? Click it! Do it immediately and subscribe to him, because I can't sing his praises enough. He is a absolutely fantastic content creator. And if you did go on to enjoy this video, then the subscribe button is always there. So with that all said, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like on the video. If you disliked the video, drop a dislike on the video. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you in the next video.